The district attorney smiled when he saw her. Actually smiled. Standing in the hallway outside courtroom 3, Catherine Hayes, 62 years old, cardigan sweater, reading glasses on a chain, holding a battered briefcase that looked older than the courthouse. "Ms. Hayes," he said, condescending, amused. "I didn't realize the public library was offering legal services now." Catherine didn't respond. Just looked at him, calm, steady. 20 years of shelving books had taught her patience. "You do understand this is a murder trial, not a book club discussion? Perhaps you should leave this to actual attorneys." "I am an attorney." "I'm sure you are. Online degree, correspondence course, very admirable. But this is serious business. Michael Torres is facing life in prison. He needs real representation, not someone who thinks reading John Grisham makes them qualified." Catherine adjusted her glasses. "A Harvard Law School, class of 1988. Graduated 5th in my class. Clerked for Justice Morrison on the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. Practiced criminal defense for 12 years. Won 83% of my cases, including 3 death penalty appeals." The smile disappeared from D.A. James Morrison's face. "That's not possible. You're a librarian." "I'm both. And in 6 weeks, you're going to wish you'd taken this case more seriously." What Morrison didn't know yet was that the woman he'd just dismissed had spent the last 4 weeks doing what she did best, finding facts, connecting dots, building a case that would destroy his political career and free an innocent kid. This is that story. 6 weeks earlier, Catherine Hayes was shelving books in the biography section. Tuesday afternoon, quiet day. 3 patrons in the whole building. She liked it this way. Peaceful, simple, no pressure, no stakes, no lives depending on whether she said the right thing at the right time. Just books, order, silence. The life she'd chosen 20 years ago when she'd walked out of Sullivan and Morrison LLP and never looked back. A woman entered, 50s, tired, carrying that weight Catherine recognized. The weight of someone drowning. She'd seen it in clients, in families, in the mirror when she used to practice law. "Can I help you?" Catherine asked. The woman looked up, eyes red. "I'm looking for legal books, law books, something that explains criminal procedure, appeals, anything." "Are you in legal trouble?" "My son is Michael. He's 19. They arrested him for murder. They say he killed someone. He didn't." "I know he didn't. But his lawyer, the public defender, she doesn't care. Won't return my calls. Won't investigate. She just wants him to plead guilty. Take a deal. 25 years. The woman's voice broke. "He's 19. 25 years is his whole life." Catherine felt something shift in her chest. Something she'd tried to bury for 20 years. "What's your name?" Maria Torres." "Tell me what happened, Maria." They sat in the reading room. Maria told her everything. Michael was a good kid, worked 2 jobs, helped support his younger siblings, never in trouble. Then 3 months ago, someone shot and killed Thomas Brennan, local businessman, found dead in his car outside a bar. Police arrested Michael 2 days later. Said witnesses saw him arguing with Brennan. Said they found the gun in Michael's apartment. Said his fingerprints were on it. Michael said he'd never met Brennan, never owned a gun, never been to that bar. The witnesses were lying. The gun was planted. He was being framed, but nobody believed him. Poor kid from the East Side. No money, no connections, no credibility. "His trial is in 6 weeks, Maria said. His lawyer told me to prepare for the worst, told me he should take the plea. But I know my son. He didn't do this. Someone is lying. Someone is setting him up. I just don't know how to prove it." Catherine was quiet, thinking, calculating, seeing patterns she'd trained herself not to see anymore. Do you have the case files, discovery materials, anything the prosecutor gave the defense?" "His lawyer gave me copies, said I should read them, prepare myself. I tried, but I don't understand legal language, all the motions and depositions, and..." Maria pulled out a folder. Thick, disorganized. This is everything. Catherine took it, felt the weight, physical and metaphorical. If she opened this folder, she was opening a door she'd closed 20 years ago. A door to courtrooms, to pressure, to stakes, to the life that had broken her. Can I keep this? Look it over. Would you, please? I don't know what else to do. I've been praying for help, for someone who could see what I see, that my son is innocent, that someone is lying. I'll read it. That's all I'm promising. I'll read it and tell you what I think. Thank you. Thank you so much. After Maria left, Catherine sat alone with the folder. Didn't open it. Just held it. Thought about the last case she'd worked, Marcus Williams. Death row. She'd spent 3 years on his appeal. Found the evidence that proved police had fabricated testimony. Got him a new trial, won an acquittal. He walked out of prison after 9 years. And Catherine had a breakdown. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Couldn't stop thinking about all the Marcus Williams who didn't have someone fighting for them, who died in prison, who lost everything because nobody cared enough to look closely. She'd walked away, moved to Oakville, got a job at the library. Quiet, simple, safe. No lives in her hands, no pressure to be perfect, no guilt when she failed. 20 years of peace, 20 years of pretending she wasn't who she used to be. She opened the folder, started reading, and the lawyer in her, the part she'd tried to kill, woke up. The case against Michael Torres was garbage. Catherine saw it immediately. The witness statements were inconsistent. One said Michael wore a red jacket, another said blue. One said the argument happened at 9 p.m., another said 10:30. One said Michael drove away in a sedan, another said a truck. The gun supposedly found in Michael's apartment. No photos of where it was found. No chain of custody documentation. The fingerprint analysis, done by a tech who'd been suspended twice for errors. The motive. Prosecution claimed Michael owed Brennan money. But no evidence of debt, no financial records, no witnesses to any business relationship. It was sloppy, rushed, built on assumptions and coincidences. The kind of case a good attorney could tear apart. But Michael's public defender hadn't filed a single substantive motion, hadn't challenged the witnesses, hadn't questioned the fingerprint analysis, hadn't demanded financial records. She'd done nothing. Catherine spent 3 days reading, rereading, making notes, finding holes, building a timeline. And the more she read, the angrier she got. This wasn't justice. This was a railroad. A kid with no money and no voice being steamrolled by a system that didn't care about truth, just about conviction rates, about political careers, about looking tough on crime. She knew who the DA was. James Morrison. Ambitious, running for state attorney general. Needed a high-profile conviction. Needed to look strong. Needed Michael Torres to be guilty because the alternative was admitting his office had screwed up. Catherine made a decision she swore she'd never make again. She was going to fight. She called Maria. I read the file. Your son didn't do this. I know. I've been saying that for 3 months. No, I can prove he didn't do this. The prosecution's case is full of holes, contradictions, errors. A competent attorney could get this dismissed before trial, but his public defender isn't competent. What can I do? You can fire her. Hire me. Silence. Then, you're a lawyer? I am. Harvard Law. 12 years criminal defense. I haven't practiced in 20 years. But I remember how, and I can't watch an innocent kid go to prison because nobody cares enough to fight. I can't afford you. We barely have money for food. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for a chance to do what I should have been doing all along, fighting for people who need it. Yes, please. Help my son. I will. But Maria, you need to understand something. The DA is powerful, connected. He's going to fight this. He's going to try to discredit me, discredit Michael, make this ugly. Are you prepared for that? If it means my son comes home, I can handle anything. Good. Because we're going to war. Catherine filed her notice of appearance on Monday, walked into the courthouse, filed the paperwork that said she was now Michael Torres's attorney of record. The clerk looked at her. "Ms. Hayes? From the library?" "Yes." "You're a lawyer?" "Yes." "I didn't know that. Most people don't." She filed 3 motions that afternoon. Motion to suppress the gun evidence. Motion to exclude the fingerprint analysis. Motion to compel the prosecution to produce financial records proving motive. Sent copies to D.A. Morrison's office. Waited. Morrison called 2 hours later. "Miss Hayes, this is D.A. Morrison. I received your motions." "Good. I don't think we've met. Are you new to criminal defense?" "No. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive." "Then you should know these motions are frivolous. The gun was legally obtained. The fingerprints are valid. We don't need to prove financial records because motive is obvious." "If it's obvious, you won't mind producing the records. If the fingerprints are valid, you won't mind letting an independent expert review them. If the gun was legally obtained, you won't mind showing chain of custody documentation." Morrison was quiet. Then, "Who are you?" "Someone who read your case file. It's embarrassing. Sloppy work. Inconsistent witnesses. No physical evidence connecting my client to the scene. No motive. No opportunity. No case. You're prosecuting an innocent kid to pad your conviction rate." "Your client confessed." "No. Your detectives claimed he confessed. But there's no recording, no written statement, just their word, which I'll shred on cross-examination." "You're making a mistake. This case is solid. Your client is guilty. Then you have nothing to worry about. See you in court." She hung up, hands shaking, heart pounding. It had been 20 years since she'd felt this, the rush, the fear, the absolute certainty that she was doing something that mattered. She'd forgotten how much she missed it. The preliminary hearing was set for 2 weeks. Catherine spent every night preparing, reading cases, drafting arguments, interviewing Michael in jail. He was a good kid, scared, confused, but honest. He told her everything. The night Brennan died, Michael was at work, restaurant job, washing dishes from 6 p.m. to midnight, dozens of witnesses, his manager, co-workers, customers, but the police never checked, never asked. Just decided he was guilty and worked backwards. "Why would they do this to me?" Michael asked. "Because you're easy, poor, no lawyer, no connections, no voice. You can't fight back. So they assumed you were guilty and built a case to match. But I didn't do anything. I know, and I'm going to prove it." The preliminary hearing arrived. Catherine walked into the courthouse, saw Morrison in the hallway, surrounded by assistants, expensive suit, confident smile. He saw her, walked over. "Miss Hayes, ready to withdraw. Save your client some embarrassment." "Why would I do that?" "Because you're about to get embarrassed. I have witnesses, evidence, forensics. You have a librarian playing lawyer. This isn't going to end well for you." "We'll see." They entered the courtroom, Judge Patricia Chen presiding. Stern. Fair. Catherine had researched her. Good judge. Followed the law. Didn't play politics. The hearing began. Morrison called his first witness, Detective Robert Walsh, the lead investigator. Morrison walked him through the arrest, the evidence, the confession, all clean, all professional. Catherine's turn to cross-examine. Detective Walsh, "You said my client confessed. Was this confession recorded?" "No." "Why not?" "We don't record every interview, but this was a murder confession. Seems important." "Why wasn't it recorded?" "It just wasn't." "Was it written down? Signed?" "No." "So the only evidence of this confession is your word?" "My word and my partner's." "How convenient. Tell me, detective, when you arrested my client, did you check his alibi?" "What alibi?" "He claims he was at work, washing dishes at Romano's restaurant. Did you verify that?" "We didn't need to. We had evidence. So you didn't check? Did you interview his manager? His co-workers? Anyone who could confirm where he was? Like I said, we had evidence. You had a gun you claim was in his apartment. Do you have photos of where you found it? No. Chain of custody documentation? It's in the file. I've read the file. It's not there. So you have no photos, no documentation. Just your word that this gun was in my client's apartment, and you never checked his alibi. Is that correct? Walsh's face reddened. We did our job. Did you? Or did you decide my client was guilty and work backwards? Objection? Morrison stood. Argumentative? Sustained, Judge Chen said. Miss Hayes, stick to questions. Of course, Your Honor. Detective Walsh? The gun? Was it tested for DNA? Yes. And? No DNA found. No DNA. On a gun my client allegedly owned and used. How is that possible? He must have wiped it. Or he never touched it. No further questions. Catherine sat, felt the old rhythm, the old confidence. She'd forgotten how good she was at this. Morrison called his second witness, Sarah Martinez, one of the witnesses who claimed to see Michael arguing with Brennan. Catherine listened, made notes, waited. Her turn. Ms. Martinez, you testified you saw my client arguing with the victim outside Hannigan's bar. Is that correct? Yes. What time was this? Around 9. You're sure? Yes. And what was my client wearing? A red jacket. Red, you're certain? Yes. Catherine pulled out a document. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, Miss Martinez's initial statement to police, taken the day after the murder. She handed it to the judge. To Morrison, to the witness. Miss Martinez, could you read the highlighted portion? Martinez read. Her voice got quieter. I saw a man in a blue jacket arguing with the victim around 10:30 p.m. Blue jacket, 10:30 p.m. But today you said red jacket, 9 p.m. Which is it? I was confused. Were you confused then, or are you confused now? I don't know. It was dark. It was dark. So you couldn't actually see what the man was wearing, or what time it was, or even if it was my client. Is that correct? I saw what I saw. What you saw was a man in the dark, and the police told you it was my client, and you believed them. Because that was easier than saying you didn't know. Isn't that true? No. Ms. Martinez, have you ever been arrested? Morrison stood. Objection. Relevance. Catherine turned to the judge. Your Honor, this goes to bias. The witness may have reason to cooperate with the prosecution. Judge Chen nodded. I'll allow it. Witness will answer. Martinez looked at Morrison, looked down. Yes. For what? Drug possession, 3 years ago. And those charges, what happened to them? They were dropped. Dropped. By who? The DA's office. So the DA's office dropped drug charges against you 3 years ago. And now you're testifying for the DA's office. Convenient. No further questions. Catherine sat. Morrison's face was red. The judge was taking notes. Catherine was winning. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Morrison called 6 witnesses. Catherine destroyed all of them. Inconsistent statements, questionable motives, holes in their stories. By the end, Judge Chen was looking at Morrison like he'd wasted her time. Your Honor, Catherine stood. The defense moves to dismiss all charges. The prosecution has failed to establish probable cause. Their witnesses are unreliable. Their evidence is questionable. Their investigation was incomplete. My client deserves to go home. Morrison jumped up. Your Honor, this is just a preliminary hearing. The standard is low. We've met our burden. Judge Chen looked at her notes. Barely. Miss Hayes, your cross-examination was impressive. Mr. Morrison, your case has significant problems. But at this stage, I can't dismiss. However, I am granting the defense motion to suppress the gun evidence. The prosecution has failed to establish proper chain of custody. and I'm ordering the prosecution to produce all financial records relating to any alleged business relationship between the victim and the defendant. You have 2 weeks. Hearing adjourned. Catherine gathered her papers, felt Morrison staring. She turned, met his eyes. You should offer a plea. Dismiss the charges. Save yourself the embarrassment. This isn't over. No, but it's about to be. That night, Catherine couldn't sleep, kept replaying the hearing, the cross-examinations, the judge's face, the way Morrison had looked at her, with anger, and something else. Fear. He knew his case was falling apart, knew she was better than him, knew he'd underestimated her. She thought about calling someone, celebrating. But who? She had no colleagues anymore, no friends from her law days. She'd walked away from all of it, built a quiet life. Alone. The phone rang. Maria. Ms. Hayes, I watched the hearing. You were amazing. The way you questioned those witnesses, the way you stood up to the DA. Michael called me. He's crying. He has hope. For the first time in 3 months, he has hope. Thank you. We're not done yet. The judge didn't dismiss. We still have a trial. But you're fighting. You care. That's more than anyone else has done. Thank you for seeing my son. For believing him. After she hung up, Catherine sat in her quiet apartment, thought about what Maria said, about believing, about seeing, about fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. She'd spent 20 years hiding from this, from the responsibility, from the pressure, from the risk of caring too much. But maybe hiding wasn't the answer. Maybe the answer was fighting, even when it was hard, even when it scared you, even when you'd failed before. Maybe that's what mattered most. The next 2 weeks were brutal. Catherine worked 16-hour days, library during the day, case prep at night. She interviewed Michael's co-workers. All confirmed he was at work the night of the murder. She hired a private investigator, found surveillance footage from the restaurant, showed Michael washing dishes at 9:45 p.m., exactly when the prosecution claimed he was arguing with Brennan. She found an expert, fingerprint analyst, independent, reviewed the prosecution's analysis, found errors, inconsistencies, wrote a report saying the prints on the gun were inconclusive at best. She built a timeline, proved Michael couldn't have been in 2 places at once. She found Brennan's financial records. No connection to Michael, no debt, no business relationship, no motive. She had everything. A complete defense. Proof of innocence. All she needed was the trial. Morrison knew he was in trouble. He filed motions to exclude her evidence, motions to bar her expert, motions to limit her cross-examination. All denied. He offered a plea, reduced charges, manslaughter, 5 years. Catherine took it to Michael. It's your choice. Take the deal and you're out in 3 years with good behavior. Or we go to trial, risk everything. But if we win, you walk out free. Your record clean. Your life back. What do you think I should do? I think you're innocent. I think we can prove it. But trials are unpredictable. Juries are unpredictable. There's always risk. Michael was quiet. Then, my mom believes in you. I believe in you. Let's go to trial. You're sure? I didn't do this. I'm not pleading guilty to something I didn't do, even if it means risking everything. I want the truth. Then we're going to trial. The trial started on a Monday, packed courtroom, media everywhere. Morrison had turned this into a campaign event, tough on crime, protecting the community, getting justice for victims. Catherine sat at the defense table, Michael next to her, Maria in the front row, quiet, praying. Morrison's opening statement was theatrical, emotional, painted Michael as a killer, a threat, someone who needed to be locked away. Catherine's opening was simple, direct. The prosecution's case is built on lies, inconsistent witnesses, questionable evidence, no motive, no opportunity, no proof. By the end of this trial, you'll see the truth. Michael Torres is innocent. And the real question isn't whether he committed this crime. It's why the prosecution is so determined to convict an innocent kid. The prosecution's case took 3 days. Same witnesses from the preliminary hearing. Catherine destroyed them again. Pointed out inconsistencies. Showed bias. Proved unreliability. The jury was paying attention, taking notes, watching Morrison's witnesses fall apart. On day 4, Catherine called her first witness, Michael's manager, confirmed he was at work from 6 p.m. to midnight, showed the schedule, the time cards. No way he could have left. Second witness, co-worker, saw Michael in the kitchen at 9:45 p.m. Same time the prosecution claimed he was at the bar. Third witness, the private investigator, showed the surveillance footage, clear image of Michael working. When the murder happened, Morrison tried to object, tried to exclude it. The judge shut him down. Fourth witness, the fingerprint expert, testified that the prosecution's analysis was flawed, that the prints on the gun were smudged, inconclusive, could have belonged to anyone. Morrison's face was red. His assistants were whispering. The case was collapsing. Then Catherine called her final witness, Thomas Brennan's business partner, Robert Chen. Mr. Chen, you were partners with the victim? Yes. For how long? 15 years. Did Thomas Brennan know Michael Torres? No. Had they ever done business together? No. Did Michael Torres owe Thomas Brennan money? Not that I'm aware of, and I handled all of Thomas's business accounts. There's no record of any relationship with Michael Torres. So the prosecution's claim of motive, of debt, is false. As far as I know, yes. Mr. Chen, do you know who killed your partner? No, but I know it wasn't that kid. He pointed at Michael. Thomas was involved in some questionable business deals, money laundering. I tried to warn him. He didn't listen. I think someone from that world killed him. Someone dangerous. Not a 19-year-old dishwasher. Morrison objected. The judge sustained. But the jury had heard it. The seed of doubt was planted. Catherine rested. Morrison had no rebuttal, no way to fix the damage. His case was destroyed. Closing arguments. Morrison tried to salvage it, appealed to fear, to emotion, to the jury's desire to feel safe. Catherine spoke last. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the evidence. You've heard the witnesses. You know the truth. Michael Torres is innocent. The prosecution's case is built on lies, inconsistent witnesses who change their stories, questionable evidence with no chain of custody, claims of motive with no proof. And now you know why. Because they didn't care about the truth. They cared about a conviction, about closing a case, about looking tough. But that's not justice. Justice is finding the truth, even when it's hard, even when it means admitting you were wrong. Michael Torres deserves justice. His mother deserves justice, and you have the power to give it to them. Send Michael home, to his family, to his life, to the future he deserves. Thank you. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Came back. The foreperson stood. We, the jury, find the defendant, Michael Torres, not guilty. The courtroom erupted. Maria sobbed. Michael collapsed in his chair. Catherine stood, quiet, feeling something she hadn't felt in 20 years. Pride, not in winning, but in doing what was right, in fighting for someone who needed it, in being who she was supposed to be. Morrison left without a word, his assistant scrambling, his political career damaged. The media swarmed. Catherine slipped out the side door. Didn't want attention, didn't need recognition, just wanted to go home. Michael was released that afternoon. Walked out of jail. Hugged his mother. Hugged Catherine. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me, for believing me, for fighting. You deserved someone who would fight. I'm sorry it took so long. What happens now? For you? I go back to the library, back to my life. You're still going to be a librarian? After this, I like being a librarian. It's quiet, peaceful, no pressure. But you're so good at this. You could help so many people. I helped you. That's enough. But it wasn't enough. Catherine knew it, felt it. The trial had awakened something, reminded her why she became a lawyer. Not for money, not for recognition, but to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves. 2 weeks later, she got a call. Legal Aid Society. They'd heard about the case, wanted to hire her. Part-time, pro bono cases, people who couldn't afford lawyers, people like Michael. I work at the library. We know you could do both. Few cases a year. The ones that need you. The ones nobody else will take. Catherine thought about it. About Michael, about Maria, about all the people out there who needed someone who cared, someone who would fight. I'll think about it. Take your time. But Miss Hayes, people need you. People like you, who see the truth, who fight for it, who don't give up. That matters. She hung up, sat in her quiet apartment, thought about choices, about hiding, about fighting, about who she was and who she could be. Maybe both. Maybe she could be the librarian who shelved books and fought for justice. Maybe she could be Catherine Hayes, all of her, not hiding, not running, just being. 6 months later, Catherine was shelving books, biography section, Tuesday afternoon. A woman approached, different woman, same weight, same drowning look. "Excuse me, are you Catherine Hayes?" "Yes. I heard what you did. For Michael Torres. I need help. My husband. They arrested him. He didn't do it. But nobody believes him. Nobody will fight." Catherine looked at her, at the desperation, at the hope. "Tell me what happened." And as the woman talked, Catherine listened. Really listened. The way she used to. The way she'd learned to again. Not as a librarian, but as a lawyer, as someone who saw people, who believed them, who fought for them. She didn't know if she'd take the case, didn't know if she could help, but she'd listen. She'd look at the evidence. She'd find the truth, because that's who she was. Not just a librarian, not just a lawyer, but someone who couldn't stay quiet when people needed her. Someone who fought, even when it was hard, even when she'd rather hide. She was Catherine Hayes, and she saw people. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one nobody notices. The librarian. The quiet one in the cardigan with the old briefcase. They think you're simple because you chose simplicity. They think you're weak because you chose peace. They dismiss you because you don't wear a suit or carry business cards or announce your credentials. But quiet doesn't mean powerless. Simple doesn't mean stupid. And choosing peace doesn't mean you can't fight when fighting matters. The woman shelving books might have graduated from Harvard Law. The custodian might be a genius. The person you ignore might be the one who saves you. Don't judge people by their jobs, by their appearance, by their choices to live quietly. Judge them by what they do when someone needs help, by whether they see people, by whether they fight for what's right. Those are the people who matter. Those are the heroes. If this resonated, leave a comment. Subscribe if you believe in quiet power, in people who see truth and fight for it, in librarians who save lives and go back to shelving books. Those are the people who change the world, one case at a time.